Hello, it's Para here. It's hard to put into words describing difficulty regarding Souls games. And I must say going forward, when I say Souls games, Elden Ring is now firmly in that pool. But we've talked years ago about difficulty, and to sum it up, we came to the conclusion that Souls games weren't inherently getting easier, it's just that people that frequent this genre were getting better at them. With that said, it's usually your first Souls game that'll give you the biggest beating. But that rule can be broken. Bloodborne: The Old Hunters knocked me down a peg, and that was the third Souls game I'd ever played. So with that mindset, why is Elden Ring so difficult? And is it even classed as a difficult game in the first place? Well, to find this out, we need to come up with a fundamental set of rules that we can follow. So what do we mean when we say difficult? Well, halting progression due to an enemy encounter can be one. For example, being stuck on a boss as it keeps killing you. Well, why does it keep killing you? This sets up another subsection of rules for that. Is your build or chosen weapon not effective? Are there outside parameters affecting you? But again, that opens up another subsection entirely. What is stopping you from progressing? And to answer this, we need to delve into why. This boss is halting my progression. Why? It keeps killing me. Well, do you know why it keeps killing you? What attacks is it landing on you? What attacks are you not dodging? And so on and so forth. Next, how does the game explain its various systems? Are these systems understandable or are they overwhelming? Bear in mind, if you put yourself in a new person to the genre's perspective, there's a lot of mechanics in place that we as existing Souls players already have a grasp on. Yes, there's no difficulty option, but there kind of is. Want a boss to be easier? Summon a phantom. Do you want an entire area to be easier? Summon a phantom. Think your build isn't working out for you? Well, compare it to the ones online. Next is accessibility. How easy is it to become familiar with the game's systems and mechanics? Now, when we say systems and mechanics, we're talking about leveling up, navigation, guard breaks, parrying, dying, status effects, dungeons, spells, UI design, movement, combat, and its various complexities. For example, I, as an existing Souls player, really struggled figuring out how to two-hand my weapon, and I still fluff it up every now and again. In Souls games previously, to switch from one-handed to two-handed, you would press the Y button, or triangle. Now in Elden Ring, you have to hold a button and choose which weapon you want to two-hand. A new player to the franchise would look at this and not really think anything of it. But someone who's had "Y is now how I hold my weapon with two hands" ingrained in them for years, it was a really difficult transition for me. But how accessible is Elden Ring? I'd argue, despite it being the biggest game of this genre, despite it having a ton of varying systems, Elden Ring is the most accessible Souls game there has ever been. In some aspects, the necessary information is shown to you from the early stages of the game, and then after that it's kind of up to you and the collective community to figure out how things work. At the time of writing this, I don't know what the soft caps are for the play levels. I don't know if armor plays that much of a role like it didn't in Dark Souls 3. But that doesn't matter to someone who just wants to pick up the game and fight some bosses and explore the lands between. You have all the key information presented to you. Whether you decide to skip the tutorials and then complain you don't understand how a mechanic works, that's on you. But with that said, some bosses are just plain hard, and won't be for the faint of heart. I could very easily see people getting to a boss and just quitting the game as they find it too difficult. So in terms of presenting the player with accessible information, the game is really easy to get into. But in terms of actually playing and sticking with it, now that's a whole different story. All these play a vital role in what determines whether or not a game is deemed difficult. And I think, to From Software's credit, the game breathes a new breath of fresh air to the Souls genre. They're the masters of it and they know how to make it work. Many games have tried to grab these Souls players, but many have failed time and time again. But we're here to ask, is Elden Ring difficult? Yes, the game is incredibly difficult. Sometimes. I seem to be going through Elden Ring in sort of a wave format. Some bosses and areas are clear without any issues whatsoever. Then all of a sudden I'm halted, confused and questioning every decision I've made in the game up until this point. Now everyone has their own way of playing a blind Souls playthrough. I, for one, play it completely blind with no summons, which you can check out on my Twitch stream, by the way. And that's what I feel a lot of veterans to this genre decide to do. But bear in mind, we shouldn't gatekeep those who decide to play it a different way. Honestly, who cares if someone summons? Who cares if someone uses a guide? We're all here to enjoy the experience. So with that said, I'm looking at difficulty through the eyes of someone who's playing it the way I am. Now, with Elden Ring being an open world, I almost approached it with a MMO mindset. I can't go here, I'm not high enough level yet. The enemies are too strong, I'll just come back later. Whether that be enemies had too much health, or did too much damage to my character, and this thought process seemed to work. If I started dying over and over, I'd just simply turn around and go explore somewhere else. Now, I could have stayed in that area and hit my head against the wall and screamed that the game was too hard, but in hindsight, I would have been playing, dare I say, the wrong way. It harkens back to the original Dark Souls 1. Go left at Firelink Shrine and progress, or go right into the graveyard and get destroyed by skeletons. The game is telling you, no, this isn't the right way to go. But it's important for the player to perceive that that is the message the game is conveying. And this clicked for me when I saw the Tree Sentinel. I got absolutely destroyed by him when I first saw him. So I said, okay, let's go do something else. And Elden Ring, much like a lot of other open worlds, give you the tools to do just that. Having options is a key element in Elden Ring that gives you the ability, if you're getting frustrated with something else to do, to turn around and go somewhere else. Which feels a lot different than in other Souls games. Souls games, if you were to completely compare them directly to Elden Ring, are much more linear. So when you're at that brick wall in Dark Souls, you have less of an inkling to go somewhere else and explore, and you just carry on with what you were doing until you beat it or just gave up. Now, bosses in Elden Ring share the same sporadic movement that was present ever since Bloodborne. Most bosses are fast, sometimes too fast for me, but that's a skill issue, and yes, I'm not very good at these games most of the time. But in Elden Ring, when fighting a boss after 10 or 20 attempts, after beating it and learning the moveset, the attack patterns, the dodge timings, it's very rare for me to be disgruntled by that encounter. But whilst I'm fighting it and failing, I found myself dipping into this mindset of, the boss is overtuned, the boss has attacks I just simply can't dodge. And then I beat it after learning it, and all the complaining I did just seemed unnecessary and honestly short-sighted. It's incredibly challenging. I'd argue it's the most difficult game in the series, despite the fact it's not my first, which breaks that rule we spoke about earlier in the video. But it gives you the tools, the environment, and the ability to overcome whatever is standing in your way. Even throwing up actual tutorials this time around that explain mechanics and its systems, whereas in Dark Souls you had to find the messages that relayed that information partially, which could easily be missed. And we, the player, just need to utilize these tools in Elden Ring to overcome the challenge. But why do I find it the most difficult in the series? For me, it comes down to punishing enemy, combat, and not necessarily the game's systems itself. I found myself on numerous occasions facing that brick wall of progression, more times than I care to admit, by getting stuck on a boss or an enemy due to the fact I missed dodging a crucial attack and getting one shot. Bosses have a moveset of a certain amount of standard attacks, and then one or two of those moves in that pool will be strong enough to one-shot you, especially if you haven't leveled up your health, which is where a lot of the frustration came from. But this gets broken up. They have a good balance of incredibly easy bosses mixed with those incredibly punishing ones. So instead of a constant barrage of difficult encounters, Elden Ring does a fantastic job of splitting that up into doable enemies, especially if you're on the right path with the right equipment level. There are many times in Elden Ring I'll go to an area or an encounter and just get absolutely destroyed. But that's why I play these games, to overcome a challenge. I'd be upset if I was blitzing my way through it. I want to experience a harsh world with unforgiving monsters. And in Elden Ring, there's just that. And honestly, after 6 years since Dark Souls 3, I couldn't be happier. If you liked the video, please leave a like and throw a comment down below in the comment section, as that'll help spread the channel around the whole YouTube algorithm. Also, if you haven't already, join the Discord community server if you're looking for friendly faces to chat to every day. I've been It's Para, be good to one another, and I'll see you next time.